Ladies and gentlemen, welcome your hosts for late night tonight. Me, Matt, and
Hello, everybody. It's Kat.
it's Kat. I don't know. I'm still gonna. At this point, I feel like I do need to ask like a James Lott Jr. or something to be like, hey man, can you record a sound clip or something of you being like, it's late night tonight with Matt and Kat. Welcome tonight's guest, the chat. Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Janet's here. Hi,
Hi,
Janet. What's going on, Janet? Hanging out with us here late night tonight.
Janet. Late night
Late
tonight.
night. 10 p.m. over on the East Coast. 11 p.m. for wherever the heck Kelly is. Who
Over there,
knows
I
if she'll
know.
join us
Yeah.
tonight? Probably not.
Well, she's probably snoozing already.
But to satisfy the algorithm, tonight we will be ranking the Desperate Housewives.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. But beyond that, it's loosey goosey. It's
It's
chill.
loosey goosey.
That's the point of late night tonight. It isn't to necessarily be about something more than just whatever it is I try to hook somebody to come watch us with. You know, it's a hangout. It's a chill time. You get the
Yep.
mornings with James Lott Jr. and you can have tonight with us.
On Thursdays, yeah.
Yeah, on Thursdays once a week. Hey everybody, welcome. It's finally warmed up in Texas, says Janet. So that's good. We had a killer rainstorm in Los Angeles once again over the last couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Like torrential downpour.
Mm-hmm.
It's become commonplace. It's like I
It'll
brought the
go.
rain with me from the Bay Area.
It's gonna go away. It's spring is gonna come.
Well, I understand that, but I mean like last winter and then this winter,
Mm-hmm.
like it's
Yeah.
been supremely wet for down
Yeah,
here.
because California's out of the drought. Yay!
Right, for now, for how long though?
Probably 5 years or so.
Oh, well, that's good.
We'll have to be in a drought again.
I mean, I
That's
like
the
the
way it
rain,
happens.
so I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. I'm happy it's there, but it's finally warmed up in Texas. So great for the Texans. I don't know what sort of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't watch the Weather Channel, so I don't really know what they were dealing with. But
Well, it was lovely here today. It was like 70.
yeah, I mean, not, I don't know what the temperature was, but it wasn't cold. Just a sleeve, just to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You go out there, the sun was shining. The wet was still somewhat saturated with some rainwater because there's poor drainage in Los Angeles, which is weird. I figured the drainage in LA should be like supreme because we don't get that much water, and shouldn't we want to like catch as much of it as possible?
Well, I when I was there, at least the surroundings area where you live, everything is inadequate when it comes to.
There's a lot of infrastructure inadequacies. Hey,
There is. There's a ton.
another benefit of late night tonight is you can see the studio like in between the week, or at least my studio in between the
Uh-huh.
week, where Anna once again has vacated the building.
She's done what?
She's vacated the building. Anna is no longer hanging out with
Oh
Michael
yeah.
and
Oh, she
Sunny.
fell, huh?
Just done. Just Chandra's here. Hey Chandra.
Hi,
Hey
Chandra.
Chandra. Hey Chandra. Hey Chandra. You leave it to the chat to one, say hello, and to two, make sure we always talk about General Hospital. I don't know if we should answer this right. Janet, I think we should save it for Sunday. Or, I can just answer you now. Do you think the Spencer storyline will perk up back up again in May? I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. That guy comes back for what, 2 months? Why bother? Don't
Yeah.
bother.
I think if Spencer returns, he'll return um as he won't be Nicholas Chavez anymore.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
No. But we can pick up the GH chat on Sunday.
I would be really surprised, but they do surprise me sometimes on that show.
Every once in a while.
Yep.
Every once in a while. You don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows really, except for the people that work there and are making it. Figure
No
these
one
things
knows.
out. It's not us. It's definitely not us here on the 10th floor. We're just going along for the ride. We're just hanging out, doing
Yeah.
what it is that we do. So I mean, last week I made that big revelation, that my life has lip turned upside down, as they used to say in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm keeping busy. I'm
That's
doing
good.
stuff.
That's
I made,
good.
I made a little Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel and Twitter account so I can try to
Oh,
be a
that's good.
dork that way. See,
Yeah.
maybe some people be interested in my little nerd chats about how to run a D&D game.
But so, Matt, running a D&D game, you could actually like teach how to do that.
I mean,
You're really good at it.
I do okay at it. I really rely on actually the people that I play with because they know
Mm-hmm.
how to do it so well that I don't really have to think about much, like mechanics
Uh-huh.
wise. Like what
Uh-huh.
what what do I do to satisfy the game functions to allow my character to do this thing? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't really ever have to think about those things.
Hmm.
A lot of other people do. It's like
Uh-huh.
it's like trying to program the thing as it goes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, anyway, go check that out though. It's called 10th Floor D&D. I try to keep the branding the same to make it easy for anybody that might be interested in me as a human being, I guess.
I
You
guess
can't
so,
I mean, you
huh?
can't do the All-Stars. And the problem with that is because it's spelled the All-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you search that, it's not going to come up with the way that I pronounce it.
Right. It's true.
I mean, because it would have been
Uh-huh.
great to have been like, it's the All Stars podcasting, but there's no way. There's no way.
There's no
The All
way.
Stars, everything else would come up if somebody were to Google it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It wouldn't work right. It
No,
wouldn't.
no, not at all. Not at all. Chandra wants
Mm.
to know: have you been able to sleep in? Have one day where you shower and just put your PJs back on? That's every day, Chandra. Denim is for losers. I'm always in comfortable pants. I try not to sleep. Of course, I have. I think the first 2 nights I put the sleep mask on and just let my body ride. But I do try to wake up when the sun pokes through this window here, and wakes me up. It's usually at about 7 in the morning. Because just I feel like a regular schedule is probably still best for me.
I think it would be actually. Of course, laying around and not having a time is I think it's good to do that once in a while, but I think that you can get yourself into a rut of just being, you know,
Yeah, I don't want to fall into
pajama
the
boy.
yeah. I don't want to do that 12 p.m. to 3 a.m. schedule or anything like that. And there's no
Mhm.
fault in people who are following that. But when it comes down to it, being on the West Coast and then starting like a Twitter, attempt at a conversation or something like today on Twitter, go follow with. I asked if you could pick your 5 leads on General Hospital, who would they be? And
Mhm.
that's gotten a lot of responses. And I can't do that at
Mhm.
noon. If I were to do that at noon, it's 3 p.m. for everybody else, Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta get started a little earlier than that. Plus, I miss all the drama if I get into it too late.
Uh-huh.
I have to watch those arguments in real time. In real time.
In real time.
In real time. I have to see the back and forths, the quote tweets,
Mhm.
the fun little nicknames. I have to watch it
Mhm.
devolve into something else that's not about the show, but about the people who are having the argument. Oh, gosh, it's just a terrible way to spend my day. No, I don't camp out on Twitter like that.
No.
I try my best to not get sucked into that sort of stuff. Try my best. Janet says that she follows the Twitter account and likes it. So thank you for that, Janet. She likes and comments. Who'd you pick for the 5? Let me know. Tell me in the chat. Curious.
To what your 5
5
most
leads.
important of the
Yeah, if you were to pick 5 characters from General Hospital who were the de facto, unquestionable leads, it doesn't have to be who are they right now, but who do you think they should be or who would you prefer? Who would they be? And so there's been a lot of
Okay.
responses. I'll tell you, I mean, we'll get into it deeper on Sunday, which is why I asked the
Mhm.
question. But if you're
Yeah.
curious about what some of those answers are, go check it out. You can follow us at 10th Floor GH. Find the tweet. It's easy to find. It's like a couple of them down on the regular page. Take a look. I also asked, what are
Pretty easy.
I also asked what are your 8 supporting characters, but that one's not as popular because I asked for 8.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I was pushing it for people who might be more interested in the thought project, the thought
Mhm.
experiment, whatever it is that people say about stuff.
Mhm.
whatever. But beyond that, I'm trying to remain creative. I'm trying to keep things flowing. I'm trying to not sit around and just watch documentaries. I don't know. I'm trying to do stuff, trying to make
Hmm.
things,
Hmm.
trying to hack out a couple of words here and there. Maybe I can string
Yep.
together something. Like I'm working. I'm working on stuff.
Good.
Finally got one of those payments to go through, which is great.
You got one of your payments to go through?
Yeah, finally, one of the many that I have been waiting on.
That's good, Matt.
So one of
That's
four
good.
has arrived.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
waiting on and so that's been a shot of comfort. So that's nice.
Yeah.
So time is chugging along and everything's gonna be all right. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm really invested in trying to make it so I'm not necessarily back to the 9 to 5 grind of something that's just gonna be that desk. Let's see if I can do something more with my existence here in Los Angeles.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's the intention.
That
That's
would
the
be
intention.
great.
As long as you're taking time to reset, I'm happy, Seshandra, and thank you very much. Think, trying to not let this stuff get to me, and there's no reason for it to.
Yeah.
So, it's not like I'm battling it back or having deep intrinsic thoughts with myself every morning, psyching myself into the day. That's not the case. I actually find myself kind of in a lull in the afternoon where I'm like, I should be doing something right now. What's the thing? I should find something. I'm gonna do something, and then I wind up like
Doing something.
making a Gordon Ramsay um, mar- uh, um uh, whatever you soak meat in. I don't know the word. I don't know why I
Like
don't
a
know the.
marinade?
Yeah, that's the word.
Okay. You made a Gordon Ramsay
I
marinade?
did. I made a Gordon Ramsay marinade with Gordon Ramsay approved ingredients.
Oh, do you like Gordon Ramsay?
So I struggle with cooking big time, huge
I
time. And I have been also struggling when it comes to the simple thing of like, well, just look up a recipe and follow that, right? And I do, and then it's just awful, and it's bad, and it's bad, and it's bad, and it's bad. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly I just don't have nothing. I've got whatever the green thumb is for cooking, I don't have it. The green spatula,
yeah.
you know?
Well,
So that's
like
what I
the
was thinking.
golden spatula kind of thing. Yeah.
Here's the thing about that, though. I had just been Googling, like, what's a good roast beef? What's a good whatever? What's a good da 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 da? And I
Hmm.
would find, like the homegoods.com, eats.com, right? All that kind of stuff. And I pull those
Hmm.
recipes and try those. And they're no good, you guys. Those are bad ones. And so I'm like, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to look up, I'm going to Google it. I'm going to Google
Hmm.
Gordon Ramsay marinade for steak. And one of them
And you
came up.
found one.
I found one. I followed it. There was balsamic vinegar. There was soy
Yeah.
sauce. There was dark brown sugar. There was salt and
What?
pepper.
Uh-huh.
What else was in there? Worcestershire,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Did I say soy
Garlic.
sauce? Soy sauce, probably. Garlic powder, onion powder, that
Mhm.
of the like that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Rosemary went into it. Rosemary,
Oh. Hmm.
because you need
Yeah.
herbs, more
Yeah.
than just black pepper, right?
Yes.
That's what they say. I don't know. I'm just regurgitating what I've been told. Uh, so I did that, and I put the meat in it, and I stored that in the refrigerator for more than an hour.
Okay. Did
It's
you cook it
key.
already? Did you
Yep.
cook it?
Well, no, you gotta marinate it first,
Oh, okay. So,
and then
so
you
I
cook
thought
it.
maybe you already did that though.
No, 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 no.
So
Mine just
you're
says
gonna
it
cook
says
it? Are you gonna cook it today or
no, no.
tomorrow?
I mean, so I cooked it yesterday, so I left it in the fridge for more than an hour, then pulled it
Oh, okay.
out after that more than an hour had expired.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was, and then I had some coaching, some live coaching to make sure that the butter was right in the pan, to make sure it was
Uh-huh.
flipped when it needed to be flipped,
Uh-huh.
and then we finished it off by throwing it in the air fryer,
Oh. Huh.
just to make sure that it stayed hot. Just continue that heat going, but it's not on the cast iron skillet anymore, so
Right.
it doesn't burn the outside.
Uh-huh.
And it came out medium well. It was good.
It was good?
It was good. I
Oh,
was I was happy with the result.
that's good. That's good. I wish I,
Excuse me.
since it is something I have to do for the most part, I mean, kind of can't avoid it to a certain degree. But since it is something I have to do, I sure wish I found more joy in it. I don't like cooking.
I understand. I feel
I don't
very much
like
the
it.
same.
It's just another job for me. I don't find the joy of it. I don't find the creativity in it. Like a lot, I have so many friends. I have tons of friends that don't feel like I do. I have so many.
It's like,
I
great,
mean,
you
I
can
know
bring
a
me dinner every
lot
night,
of
please.
people that really enjoy cooking and, find it to be an outlet for all kinds of stuff for them.
I'm not into it either. I get you. I totally understand.
I don't dig it.
No, I don't get it. It makes
Like
me
I said, like
frustrated.
and like I said, since it is something you pretty much have to do, I wish I could find a way to enjoy it, but I try to and I just don't. You know what? If I don't cook, you know what happens if I don't cook? My
Everybody's gonna
freaking
stop.
kitchen stays clean. That's what happens. It's a lovely
Well,
thing.
that's true. That's true. They can't mess it up if nothing's happening on the inside. Just dust it every once in a while. Chandra says that her grandmother was the same. She was an excellent cook, but it was a chore for her.
Yeah. I mean, I cook okay. I don't cook great. I can cook as well as I guess I could cook better if I really wanted to, but what I want to be mostly when I'm cooking is done.
It's done. Yeah, I get it. No, totally. Oh my God, I'm sure there's far more people that relate to that. I bet than it is like I love it every second of it. Oh man, layering the flavors on top of each other and then presenting it to
Mhm.
my family who meets me with their bright, happy faces. And that's not for everybody. That's for dang sure. That is for dang sure.
Mm-mm.
Now, Chandra's grandma, it was it was a chore for her. I imagine she was doing that before the convenience of modern technology as well.
I'm sure she was, it was everything was harder then, there wasn't, tools weren't as good and there was just more scratch cooking and,
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
it took more time.
You're not gonna go to
You
the
know what
local
cracks me up
market. Yeah.
about you know what cracks me about the old days though? Like the old days, like from when your grandmother
Hmm.
was, um, it amazes me how much work folks put on themselves back then.
Hmm.
Like ironing sheets and handkerchiefs and stuff like that. We wanna hang but why?
I guess
Why?
when there
Why?
when you have less, and I'm not saying because everybody was poor, but just because people just kind of had way less, back then.
Mhm,
There wasn't you didn't have a Kohl's and a Target and a Walmart
mhm,
and a Macy's and the whole mall, all of these places to go
mhm,
and get new clothing and replace this, that, or the other thing.
mhm.
I think that there was just a lot more value placed on the items that you had, and so the presentation of keeping everything fresh and nice and starched and all of that.
I understand it to a certain degree because things weren't tumble dried, so they weren't as soft,
Hmm.
things were crunchier and more wrinkled.
Right.
And there wasn't and things weren't so perma-pressed when it came to fabrics and blends back then,
Hmm.
you know. So, but like for instance, like my dad used to starch his Levi's. Well, he didn't do it. He had other people do it
And
for him.
there is the second point. All of these
Yeah.
people who wanted this stuff wasn't doing it themselves. They were having their wife, their kid, whoever,
Yeah.
handle it. So it's a lot easier to be like, well, I need to keep my crisp,
Mhm.
gentlemanly presentation everywhere I go. If you're not doing it, you know.
And that ended about the time we got a clothes dryer.
Hmm.
But yeah, I thought it was so weird even back then. And I was a little kid and I thought it was so weird. And he was a
Starches
machinist
Levi's.
too. So he used to go, he didn't have a clean job,
Just walking
you
around
know.
with crunchy jeans.
Yeah, he had and why did they have to be, and they had to be creased too.
That is strange. Like creased.
creased to 501 button
jeans.
fly
It's like
Levi's.
I'm gonna wear. I have to wear these pants because I'm a blue collar worker, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna look like they're trousers, like
he was a
slacks.
spiffy looking dude, that's for sure.
This was like what, the 60s, 70s, right?
This is the 60s. This
60s.
is
So maybe
so
it was just some sort of weird 60s choice
well,
that made sense at the
and
time.
that's the way he wore his Levi's when he was a teenager.
Oh, okay. So it's a 50s choice, 40s choice.
Yeah, it's a 50s kind of thing. And my grandmother used to starch them for him. And then my mom started doing it. I even had to do it a couple of times. And then we got a clothes dryer and dad got over himself. I don't know why. I don't remember why he got over himself. It's just that we didn't do that anymore.
Like I don't know, because he wasn't one to take an ultimatum. So, maybe the fact that it wasn't on a clothesline anymore just changed his perception of these needing to be ironed and starched. Now, I don't know. That's going to be one of those unanswered questions.
And then, there would be like long periods of time where we didn't have a clothes dryer too, because if it broke, it would sit there for a long time before he fixed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, he didn't have to dry the clothes. It wasn't important to him, right? Like,
No.
it all goes to that same mentality, and we as a society, we've made a lot of progress, not all the progress, but a lot of progress, in removing that sort of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I can only talk for the people that I know in the areas that I live in. I don't know what it's like in central Ohio for these kinds of things. But in my
Very
experience,
different than Burbank, California.
yeah, I imagine. But I feel like, at least it seems as though perhaps not so many people are finding themselves with that sort of setup in their life, which is great. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Chandra follows up that her grandma didn't believe in technology. She made everything from scratch. And her idea of tech was using the sunbeam mixer. So I guess it's like, I'm going to save my arm and that's it.
So anything at all that she plugged in, anything at all, huh?
Yeah, she said microwaves would kill ya. She's probably right about that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not necessarily the microwave itself, but what you make in the microwave. Because chances are you're doing some sort of frozen processed food in the microwave.
Yeah. Some people actually cook in a microwave. I don't
Can't imagine.
understand.
Like, if I have to run the microwave for longer than 5 minutes to make something, I'm getting nervous. Like, this is too long. This thing can't be running this long. It's gonna catch on fire. It's gonna blow up. It's something is going to go wrong. Like, oh, you microwave your turkey for half an hour. I'm not leaving the microwave on for half an hour. No, that's way too much.
I
don't burn something out.
I don't think microwaves are. To me, microwaves are for heating up leftovers and making a hot pocket. That's about it.
Pocket. Exactly. Maybe
That's
you
about
can
it.
get some pre-made frozen pancakes because you just don't feel like getting
something like
mixed
that.
yourself. Like,
But
now,
cooking, no.
now pancakes aren't hard. So, the fact that there are frozen pre-made pancakes out there for people who just really don't want to, or are just, I don't know, super on the run. I only have a minute and a half to shovel this in my mouth and get out of here. Let me get my frozen pancakes. It's like McDonald's pancakes, though. They're really tasty. They're too tasty. How do they do it?
They're fluffy, huh?
Like, they're not bad.
They're
You
not
gotta
bad.
microwave them right. Popcorn too, says Chandra. Gotta remind her, yes, popcorn. We're not doing that Jiffy Pop on the stove anymore, like at the beginning of Scream.
No, but I think you can still find Jiffy Pop though.
Oh, absolutely. I pass it in the grocery store all the time, but I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
That's what I loved Jiffy Pop when I was a kid. The microwaves weren't all that around, and I don't think microwave popcorn was out yet.
Hmm.
And I didn't have a microwave for a long time. We didn't have a microwave.
So you just stuck those
And I remember
disposable
microwaves
Jiffy
used to
Pops on the
be,
stove.
when they first came out, my radar range, and they were enormously big
Uh-huh.
and very heavy. Work.
And you making popcorn. Just pop. And then like, what to do what? Like, there was there did you have a VCR or something? Like,
Of course.
okay. I don't know when those came
Some
out. That
people
was the
had,
70s,
oh
I guess,
yeah.
right? Oh, I
Some
remember.
people had beta and some people had VHS.
There was a That 70s Show episode about the Foremans getting a VCR that I remember now. And Red was gonna tape the game and then watch it immediately after. And the kid, he was like, why don't you just watch the game? He's like, well, because we have a VCR, right? And then, like, for some reason, he didn't hit the button or something and wound up not being able to watch it after all. Sitcom. Oh, goodness. Speaking of something that's not a sitcom, Desperate Housewives.
Desperate Housewives was not sit. Well, it had hilarious moments.
It was a dramedy, 1,000% a dramedy.
Yes.
So as you have seen, I've got the cast down here. Jiffy's still around, says Chandra. She confirms it.
Yep.
And she had an air popper.
Maybe I'll buy some Jiffy Pop and have the girls make it.
It might be
They
fun.
would think that was fun.
Yeah, and then like watching Kanto or something. I don't know what they like.
Yeah, have Scarlett and Ellie make some Jiffy Pop.
You always trying to come up with some sort of grandparent plan. Trying to keep things active and fun.
I try.
Well, you know, you have your memories of having a great time at your grandparents' house.
I do. I have wonderful memories of my grandparents. They had a very, very, very fun house, and I have tried to mimic them very much. I mean, right down to what I have in my backyard.
There you go. Well, there you go. Because you know, it worked for you. Why wouldn't it work for anybody else? And so far, it has.
Mm-hmm.
You have to turn it into like a ball field in a dance studio or something at some point. I don't know what the needs will change as the years go on.
I think one of the cutest things that one of the girls said to me a few months ago was she was just all bubbly and excited. She's like, Grandma, you have your own park.
Yeah.
In your backyard. You have your own park.
Yeah, little play set back there. It still gets some use. Not as much as it when they were littler, but it still gets used. They're still out there climbing on that thing.
Actually, I think that place that's got about 3 years left in it, and it's going to be torn down.
That's fine. You don't need it after that.
I won't need it anymore after that. I don't think so.
Hey, Jeannie. Jeannie got her first VCR in 1984 because she had to tape Santa Barbara so she could watch it along with her other soaps.
Let me tell you about the very, very, very first VCR that I ever saw, and most people have never seen this. It was called Cartravision. When I met my husband, I was only 15 years old, and Matthew's grandfather, my father-in-law, was way ahead of his time. He was Mr. Tech Dude.
He was a gadget guy.
He was a gadget dude. And he had this, and I was like, what is that? And it was big. It was like, it was probably like maybe about 18 inches wide or so, and about 18 inches deep. And it was really heavy, and it was on kind of like rollers. And it had this drawer that came out like clunk, big old, and it had big giant tapes like this, you guys, and they looked like 8 tracks. But it was video. I mean, this is like prehistoric VCRs.
This man was always ahead of the times when it came to ways to consume movies and TV. Like that was his thing. He really liked that stuff.
He loved that stuff.
He loved it. And so he had the Betamax and this thing you're talking about. And he was the first person I know to have a TiVo. He was the first person I know to order from Netflix.
Yes. And do you remember, Matt, at one time he had like 6 VCRs all hooked up at the same time?
Yeah. Like, I don't know exactly what his goal was.
And then he had splitters everywhere.
Yeah. He would record, and then they also, my favorite part about that setup was the big TV was always set to like when we would go and visit, there would be some sort of sport on all the time.
Yeah.
And then there would be that other littler TV that had all my children playing.
Yes. And they had one of those projecting TVs, where like everything weighed 1,000,000 pounds, and like the front of it had like these projector things, like color projector things, and this drawer came out the front of the TV.
Yeah.
It was very odd.
The red, green, and blue projector, and then somehow it turned it. Yeah, I remember. We would.
It was like prehistoric big screens.
They too were also the first people I knew that had a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
We got it shortly after for our house, but they were the first person that I know that got one. And I'm like, why on earth do they have a Super Nintendo? And it's because, one, it's a gadget. And two, they had grandkids that came a couple of times a year, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember they would set it up on that big projector TV, and it was epic for this, me as this little squirt playing on this. I don't even know how big it is, 60,
That thing was so big and clunky.
very heavy.
It was so heavy. It was like comparable to the weight of like a piano or
Yeah,
something.
it was. Yeah, that thing was massive,
It was massive.
but it worked forever. The first time I ever watched Star Wars was on that.
Really?
Hmm? Yeah,
Well,
it was. I
they
watched. I watched
finally
a
got they finally got
laser
rid of it.
disc.
I'm sure somebody got a hernia moving it since they finally got
It was
rid
all.
of it.
It was always in that basement until they got rid of it. I don't know who took it, but yeah, it must have been a job and a half. But yeah, the first time I watched Star Wars was on a laser disc on that projection TV in the basement area of Grandma Lou and Grandma Carl's house.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that means the first time I watched
yes.
Star Wars, it was like the original cut, you guys. It wasn't one of these re-edited ones that the kids get now. This was like the
Hmm.
one from 1977. It was on a laser disc.
Oh,
They didn't change anything.
yeah. He was something with all that, wasn't he?
Yeah, I bet he had an
But
Atari
anyway, so the
too,
cart
says
the
Shonda.
Cartravision thing, you guys, I know why that thing went out of business. I know it didn't, technology of VHS was so much better, but this Cartravision thing broke down constantly.
It's too
And it
many
was
moving
got
parts.
itself wrapped up constantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and with like the drawer was like, "Honk." It was so odd. And I never saw one anywhere ever else except for their house.
Hmm. I wonder how much they sold that laser disc for.
I don't know. I
Because
remember like,
people would probably pay a premium to get like the original cut of Star Wars now.
oh,
That thing's been
maybe.
butchered a lot. It's been redone and reanimated and re this and re that so many times that I don't even know where someone would be able to find the original cut of it. Not that that matters. That was just my brain tangent there. Oh goodness. Jeannie says that the microwave was huge when she got one, just huge. Um, when my mom
And that stuff
moved,
was super expensive back then too.
yeah, you're not gonna get one for $65 at Walmart, right?
No, I remember like a VCR was like 600 or 700 bucks. I remember the very first CD player, single CD player I bought
Mm-hmm.
was like almost $300.
Yeah,
And that's back in the 80s. That's a lot.
yeah, that is a lot of money.
Yeah,
Gosh, I got a Walkman or whatever when I was a teenager that played CDs. It wasn't $800.
sure wouldn't.
Sure wasn't. Sure wasn't. But
Sure wasn't
hey,
too.
I didn't have a crank record player though. Those had gone out of fashion by then. Well, I bet they used to
I
sell those
kind of
things like lunchboxes though.
I kind of wish, well, that's what I kind of had planned to do, and I just, one of those procrastination things. I haven't done it. You know how I have your grandparents' old, you guys remember those cabinet stereos, the wooden ones where you lift up the top. So I have my mother-in-law and father-in-law's. I have it here. And the reason why I wanted that piece of furniture, because it doesn't currently work, but the reason why I wanted it was because they my father-in-law and mother-in-law were out um, shopping for this thing, and she was pregnant with my husband, and she went into labor while they were out shopping for it.
Oh.
So that's why I love that piece of furniture. So my father-in-law, being Mr. Gadget and well, Inspector Gadget, he wasn't good at it. Sometimes he wrecked that thing and trying to mess with it. He was messing with a frequency or something on it. He was messing with it because they went to Spain and they took that piece of furniture with him, and the electricity, something was different.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to get it to work, and he jacked the whole thing up good. It never worked again.
And they kept it and kept it and
And they
kept
kept it. They kept it probably for the same reason why I like it.
it.
It's got such an endearing story with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to just take the turntable out of it and just plunk a new one in there. Just kind of place it in there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And you could still open the top and use it. It just wouldn't have, it's got all those old tubes and crap in it from 1961. Well, We don't want to use it that way
Well,
anyway,
hey,
right?
buy us several coffees, and maybe we can contribute to this to this project. We can make it happen. We can resurrect this console, is what Jeannie calls it.
Yep. Yep. And it's
Uh,
got a turntable and a radio in it.
yeah,
And yeah, but I think, you could gut it and put new stuff in it and make it work.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and Chandra has her granny's console, so there you go. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. I love those things. I think they're cool.
Yeah. Kai Wan's here, and he immediately started talking about Desperate Housewives, which we have barely, we haven't done at all. We haven't done. Hi, Kai Wan. How's it going, Kai Wan? Kai Wan says the show is the best.
It was so good, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was so good.
So growing up, before it became General Hospital, there was always a weekly show that we would watch. By the way, I'm late night tonighting at the Savoy.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we do. I just need a martini glass and an illuminated table.
Hmm?
So we had a weekly show. We've always had a weekly show. When I was a kid, it was like Full House. It was the weekly show.
Mm-hmm.
Roseanne. We talked about Roseanne on Late Night Tonight once.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Lots and lots of wrestling.
Oh gosh, tons of wrestling,
So
right?
much wrestling.
When you guys were teenagers, so much wrestling.
So much wrestling.
Well, actually, kids too. From the time, so much wrestling.
So much wrestling, action figures, shows, going to Blockbuster and renting tapes, just the video games, the posters, tickets to shows.
I'll be right back. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
She's got something to show us. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's exciting. So yeah, I mean, wrestling was huge for us. And we had a weekly show to watch, whether it was that, and then as time goes on, tastes change. Lost was on the roster. We used to watch Lost every Thursday, every week. And also Sunday nights, Desperate Housewives. Chandra says she's familiar with the characters, but she didn't watch Desperate Housewives. Well, it's available. I think it's on Hulu or something. You can check it out if you want to. It's old now. It's so old now. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's so old.
Who's
It's
this
been
little
over for like 10 years.
fool right here, Matt?
That
Who's
looks
that
like
little
the
fool right
Million
here?
Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase.
And he's got his luggage and everything.
Yeah, he's got a little briefcase. I'm sure it's filled with money because everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
The only reason why I could find him so easily, this is one of Matthew's toys from when he was a little boy. It's marked on the bottom 1997.
Wow.
It is. The reason why I found him so easily is because I went in my store. He's for sale, so he's sitting right there.
I'm going to sell your figures, kids. You don't even touch them anymore. But the nostalgia. What if we happen across them one day and go, oh yeah, what a good time it was playing with these. And then we put them back in the box. Oh, goodness. So Kaiwan says, this is the best show, but I hate the fact that they got rid of the daughter, the legitimate daughter in season 2 and season 3. I hate the fact that they made it. I don't know what daughter he's talking about. Maybe Susan's daughter. Also Gabrielle's other daughter.
Well, Bree had a daughter as well.
Oh yeah, she did.
Bree had a daughter as well. Bree's daughter had a baby, remember?
She had a baby, yeah, and then Bree was like, no, this is my baby. I'm pretending to have a baby. I'm going to have a fork sticking out of my belly because I'm pretending to have a baby.
You guys, now, if Bree were in today's world, what would Bree be known as? What would society call Bree?
I mean, she's so prim and proper. She wants to make sure that everybody stays where they belong. She'd probably call the cops if she needed to. She definitely wants to talk to your manager.
Mm-hmm.
Bree was the template.
Yeah. The original Karen.
For Karen. Oh my gosh! I guess that's a good one to start with. We can just start with Bree because we were intending here to rank the Desperate Housewives, and this is how this is going to go, folks. We're going to rank the Desperate Housewives from our most favorite to our favorite because there isn't a bad one, Like there's no worst. There's just the ones that we really liked and the ones that we really liked,
I'm going to write their names down on a piece of paper because I think that visual will help me.
Sure thing. Yeah, I can get Bree, Edie, Susan, Gabrielle, Lynette, and Mrs. McClusky.
Hey, we got Lynette and Bree, Susan,
And Gabby.
Gabby,
And then Renee, Edie,
Renee, and Mrs.
Edie,
McClusky.
and Mrs. McClusky. Yes.
And you know what her first name was?
Karen.
Karen.
And Chandra, you win the fake prize. Because, Mom, you asked the question, what would her name be? And Chandra says Karen.
Yep.
So, you get the bragging rights for being able to answer that correctly, Chandra. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
So
I'm just, really grateful.
Mhm.
I'm just really grateful that society didn't decide that that girl's name was going to be Catherine or Kathy. Because I feel bad for women named Karen now.
You're just so worried about it. Just so worried about it. Okay, so let's start with Bree Van de Kamp, Mother.
Yes.
There is now a picture of Bree Van de Kamp below us. Oh gosh, I do enjoy playing with the producing, I guess you could say, of
Yeah.
this particular show.
Yeah. I rewatched last week. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Chandra
Very
takes it
good.
now. Good, Chandra. You take
So
it.
Bree, and Bree, when she first came on the show, she was with Rex. Rex was still alive.
She was with Rex, yeah, and then
Doctor.
And they were having troubles, of course, and I think she wound up having an affair with the pharmacist who killed Rex.
Yes.
He gave him the wrong dose of his medicine, so he had a heart attack and died.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's how it
and then
went.
he became like a stalker dude, and she had to get rid of him.
Yeah, that was the tension of the first season. That was her big story. I guess the second, yeah, that was the big tension of the first season because Rex died at the end of the first. By the way, spoilers galore. If you haven't seen this and want to, I'm going to spoil you like crazy. Go watch it and come back. If you want to watch it and haven't, come along for the ride if you want to be spoiled. If you have watched it and loved it, stick around. But yeah. So that was her big story. Of course, so the launching off point of this entire thing is that this group of friends were poker buddies on Wisteria Lane. They all had their lives. They were housewives. All of them kind of either worked from home or didn't work in the beginning.
Yeah. And they all came together and Mary Alice, right?
So Mary Alice was a part of their crew as well. So there was originally 5 of these poker players, but Mary Alice wound up killing herself.
She did.
And that was the launching off thing. Like that was the very first thing to ever happen in the series was you have Mary Alice's voiceover of like, this is Wisteria Lane and here are my friends and then blammo.
I don't know if they still do it. They probably don't anymore, but Universal Studios, the tram used to drive you down Wisteria Lane.
Yeah. I don't know if they do. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know if they replaced it with something else, but I
wouldn't be surprised if it's gone.
So the last time that I recall us visiting Universal Studios together, they were still filming Desperate Housewives at the time. And when we were on the tour, we couldn't go down Wisteria Lane because they were actively filming the show at the time. As a matter of fact, they were like, everybody has to be quiet.
I remember.
And then he was like, we're passing Wisteria Lane. I'm going to continue to do the tour like this.
And then we got away from it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he started talking normal again.
That's when the shark jumps at you.
Yep.
So Bree, So these friends came together, playing poker. Mary Alice takes herself out, and then drama. Every single season of Desperate Housewives, there's some sort of secret on the block. Somebody has some sort of
Always
secret.
something.
There's drama. There's revelations. It's deadly. Just tension galore, and also comedy galore. It's a fun show. It's a fun show. That hits all the beats. It makes you laugh, makes you cry, keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Do you remember that Susan was doing fans only before there was fans only?
Yeah, like just being an internet girl or whatever.
She's cleaning her house with her inner chons and stuff.
Always trying to make ends meet. That's Susan Meyer. So Bree, of course, is one of them. You saw the entire cast below us when we were chit-chatting just about life. I had all them up, but now they're gone. Now we've got the dark green for our most favorite and light green for our favorite. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this right. We're gonna do this well.
I
So,
already know who my favorite
so,
is.
so you know, we will continue going through. We'll talk about it, and we're going to decide where, if we're just going to figure it out. We're going to figure out. So, Bree, first season, Rex. Second season, I don't remember, but there was Orson, who was her husband. Orson was cool. That whole
Orson was
relationship
the
was
one in the
interesting.
wheelchair, right?
Orson was in the wheelchair, yes. So Orson got hit by a car. Yeah. And that's when he became evil.
Hmm.
He wasn't evil. Well, he had a secret before, because of course they all had secrets, right? Um,
Yes.
and his was, I don't know, being involved, killing somebody, hitting somebody with a car. I don't remember exactly who it was. But he
Hmm.
had a secret he was hiding. He was covering it up. His actually, I don't know if you remember this, but he was introduced first with Susan. He was a blind date that Susan was sent on at the end of one of the seasons. And when they opened up for the next season, he had been with Bree for a long time.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know if they made
Oh,
it.
was
Made
it
it
the 5 year jump?
maybe.
Remember the 5 year jump?
No, you see, it couldn't have been the 5 year jump because in the 5 year jump that they had after season 4 or something like that, the Days of Our Life totally stole. She had really fleshed things out with Mike Delfino. And then after the 5 year jump, we found out that they're not together anymore. What? Mike and Susan just always not together, chasing one another for years. Even when they're together, they can't stick with it.
Yeah, and they even had a baby.
Yeah, they even had a baby, MJ.
Yeah.
Maynard.
Maynard,
So
yep.
Bree, she got kids. She's got Danielle and oh no, I should have done some research before this. Danielle and her kid, her gay kid.
No, that Bree had the gay kid.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah.
Talking about Bree.
Yeah. I don't remember the boy's name.
I don't remember
I
the
sure
boy's
see
name
his
either.
face in my eye, in my mind.
Oh, 10th floor podcast. Gotta love it, right? These kids. Desperate housewives. Danielle and Andrew.
Andrew. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Crazy World. So here's the thing. She didn't want everybody to know that Danielle was pregnant. And at first they didn't know if it was the White kid or if it was somebody else. And it wound up being somebody else, which worked out for Bree because if it was Matthew Applewhite's baby, then there's no way she would have been able to pull it off herself. Um, in any case, so she takes a baby and is like, well, this is my baby. She has a fake pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness gracious, all of that.
Yeah, like that. She would borrow the General Hospital bell.
Absolutely. So on top of that too, so there's a whole Andrew situation, and it gets so out of control, and she can't deal with it so much that she leaves him out of town.
I remember that. She dumped him like a dog,
Yeah,
actually.
it was one of those like, hey, you want to go to Disneyland, and then like takes off,
Mm-hmm.
at the gas station or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had to find his way back, and of course, all that sort of stuff, and eventually they do, and everybody's happy. But yeah, my goodness, such tension between her and both of her kids. There was a point where both of those kids were gone, and it was just her and Orson with his secrets. Now, when it comes down
She's
to
a terrible mother, actually.
bad mama. Bad mama.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, Orson doesn't. I don't think Orson passed away, but they definitely got a divorce because he went off the deep end. Orson did,
Mm-hmm.
with secrets and murder, lies, betrayals, money, being mad.
And I mean, he
that
was
she's
very
not
jealous of
Brihaj.
her. Remember she got like she had like a cookbook, and she
Oh
got a little
yeah, after
famous and
that
stuff.
5 year jump, she became she wasn't like Martha Stewart. She was just
Yes.
big in the homemaking business
Yes, and
of
he was
homemaking.
jealous. He was jealous of all that too.
Yeah, because part of it was because her name was Bree Hodge, but she was using Bree Vandekamp professionally, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, why? She's like, because it's Vandekamp. Like, why wouldn't I use I'm gonna Hodge? Come on, let's get real. But yeah, so ultimately that didn't work out. But Bree ended the series, hooking up with Scott Bakula, and that's a win. I would think that's a win. People like Scott Bakula.
Yeah, I like Scott Bakula.
He played some sort of lawyer, helped her out at the jam.
Mm-hmm.
either some sort of book jam or the legal jam that was the final season of trying to prevent the cops from arresting everybody for killing a guy. Because that was the thing, like, they weren't necessarily responsible for the troubles. Like, they were involved, their families were involved, but when it came down to it, none of them was, like, the killer, until that last season when one of them was. And so that was a good twist. So Bree, as it stands right now, is the only housewife we've discussed, so that makes her our most favorite. There's more to go, though.
Actually, do you want to know where she's placed for me?
Absolutely. I'd be curious.
Dead last.
Really? Wow.
She's my favorite, least favorite.
Your favorite? She's just your favorite. She's not your most favorite, but she's your favorite. So Bree, she is she's the worst person of them all. That's for sure.
She's the most pretentious, awful chick.
Yeah, she's terrible. She's a terrible human being and was for the entire series. Even at the end, she was bad. Mm-hmm. Of course, she had her moments. She was the lead in the show. Of course, she had her redeeming moments, redeeming qualities here or there. But for the most part, if somebody was going to make the most effed up choice on this show, it was gonna be Bree.
Yes.
So, no Bree, no.
Yeah.
No Bree, no. But by default, she's in first place right now. All right, let's see if we can be more focused here as we talk about Susan Myers, who for me would be in dead last.
You and I are very different.
Because you'd put her at the top.
She's my number 2.
Really? See, here's the thing about Susan. I was never truly invested or interested in her story, her journey, her job, her relationship with her kids. Her relationship with Mike. I grew tired of the chase between her and Mike Delfino, even when I was a younger man. I was just never really sold by her troubles, her problems, how she was dealing with things, all that sort of stuff.
I liked her because she was such a goofball.
She was a goofball. Now that's for sure. So Terry Hatcher, so Marsha Cross plays Bree, famous for Melrose Place. So if you know her from that show, then you get an idea of who Bree was.
Yep.
Terry Hatcher plays Susan, who I know from Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, and you know her from being the daughter of your boss from that one place.
Yeah, she was Owen Hatcher. Her dad was one of the higher ups at AMD, and at one time at Advanced Micro Devices, AMD. I worked there, my husband worked there, my mom worked there, my stepfather worked there. He wasn't my stepfather yet. My brother worked there.
Goodness,
anyway,
family of
Owen Hatcher was one of the he worked in that building. He was a manager, but at a high, couple of levels above who I'd be talking to on the regular.
Right.
But I remember there was a picture of Terry on his desk. And I believe it was from when she was a cheerleader.
I mean, she was just getting started in her career at that time, I'm sure, being a cheerleader and then making it over to like being the guest stars on like Matlock and Murder, She Wrote and those little things that she did in the late 80s and 90s. I don't know exactly what her big break was. I don't know if it was Superman or something just before that. But I definitely remember her as Lois Lane from Lois and Clark. The New Adventures of Superman. ABC's also on Sundays. I'd watch it with my grandma. Dean Cain, who's such a big letdown as a human being, it seems. I don't know. I don't know him personally, so I can't say. What?
Yeah, he don't have a good reputation currently.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. But yeah, you know what? He was a fun little Superman. He was the Superman of the 90s. He was the Superman that we needed for the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not Desperate Housewives. That's Lois and Clark. Susan for me, like I said, Susan for me is closer to the bottom. I'm really, like I said, had been uninvested. She had the comedy though. She was the one that was falling naked in the bushes. She was the artist. She was the one that wound up being like the sexy maid for the internet. Like she was the one who had the silly stuff happen in her life.
She had the silly stuff. Yeah, she would be the one that got caught in the sprinklers on the lawn.
Clumsy. Yeah, she fell in the pool in the premiere.
Yeah.
Like she was just a clumsy Just a
Hmm.
no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. What are we talking about?
So yeah, she's my number 2. I found her entertaining.
Well, we'll compromise. She might wind up at that third then. On
And
average.
I always liked her. I thought I liked her and Mike Delfini. I did.
I mean, they had that classic romance. I don't think that they ever really had that will they or won't they. It was a more of a when they type of deal, But they had other than Lynette, I guess the most. I guess Gabrielle had a pretty consistent one too. But when it came to like no, Lynette owns that. When it comes to like the solid loving relationship, but when it, I don't know, just that classic chase of each other, the two people who should be together. These two crazy kids deserve one another. Yeah, then Mike and Susan, I think definitely got that. So we could put her at third.
And she just couldn't get out of her own way a lot of times.
And it's because of that silliness,
Mhm.
immaturity, still kind of being and she's not dumb. She wasn't ditzy. She was just clumsy and goofy and anxious.
Mhm.
Oh, no, he doesn't. DC doesn't have that. She's talking about Dean Cain. That's what it is. DC doesn't have the best rap right now, which is the comic book company behind Superman. I think that there's a delay in your broadcast. I don't know, maybe, probably. There's always a delay for me. Like, you guys watch what we say a good 10 seconds after we've said it. And that's been
Oh.
forever. Yeah, this isn't live. It's still pretty live, though. And
Pretty
I've
live.
never been able to find like a dump button. You know how radio stations have like a dump button?
Mm-hmm.
So they can not. I haven't found one on YouTube, so I really don't know what the delay is for. So if you can help me find the dump button, that'd be nice. Because then I can like dump things if I don't like what we said. And we can pretend like we didn't say it. We can like do a take 2 and the show will be funnier. Oh, goodness. All right. Susan, she's fine. Whatever. Who cares? Uh, Gabriella Solis, mother. Now, this is the one that Chandra says she is the most familiar with.
Gabrielle was too much. With season 1, she's doing the pool guy.
Yeah, the gardener. Jesse
Yeah,
Metcalf.
the gardener, yeah. Ooh, and Jesse Metcalf, that's who played it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, good-looking young man. Good-looking young
People
man.
still think so.
And he did didn't he do the reboot of Dynasty?
I think it was in Dallas.
Dallas.
I think it was in Dallas. I think he was in the reboot of Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, with JR. JR was back. I even think that they brought back, what's his name? Patrick Duffy?
Really?
I think they brought him back for it too. I don't think it's still on anymore. So when it comes down to it, I think that JR was always still like the hook character. And Larry Hagman passed away in 2012. I recently actually came across this information just by being a nerd and being on the internet and just following that link to that link to that link. I don't know why. It was because I was thinking about I was reminded that Larry Hagman was also in I Dream of Jeannie as the astronaut, and that is just such a different type of show and type of character. That was I was like, let me look up Larry Hagman a little bit, and I read this little Wikipedia article. That's what had happened. So he passed away in 2012 while they were still filming the reboot of the Dallas show.
Oh.
And so after that happened, I think it lost a lot of wind in its sails. Because, I mean, that's JR,
Yeah. That's JR.
And like if he wasn't included in the reboot, would it have even happened? Those are the questions that I can't answer because I didn't see much Dallas.
Uh-huh.
It was about oil. I know that.
I didn't watch very much Dallas either. I wasn't a Dallas fan. I was a Dynasty fan. I watched Dynasty every week.
Was it one of those network things? Like, it was Dynasty on ABC and Dallas was on like NBC or something?
Probably.
Probably. You were just a Channel 7 girl.
But I would, yeah, I was. And I was working nights then. Well, I was working swing shift then. So I would work from like 3 in the afternoon till midnight.
That's right. These are 80s shows.
And my husband would tape it on the VCR where I could watch Dynasty at midnight when I got home.
That is why I have absolutely no recollection of the show whatsoever. I have no recollection. Like everyone's, older shows that you may have watched, there might be a scene or a character or an actor or something where I'm like, oh yeah, that's so and so from such and such. I do
Mhm.
not have this with Dynasty whatsoever. Like
And you
Joan
were very
Collins was
little,
on the
Matt. You
show.
were like, you were little,
Oh,
little.
this was swapping the kids off on the freeway type of
This is even
time, right?
before that.
Oh my
It's before your
goodness,
sister was born.
goodness. Because I,
Hmm.
I mean, I have vague recollection of the of waking up and getting in the car to be driven to your job to be driven back home.
Do you really?
I do. Vague recollection, but I remember sleeping in the
I,
car.
I tell you, I look back on it now. There was a lot of stuff, a lot of weird stuff that Dad and I did that I think a lot of people would just been we wouldn't be willing to even try now.
You got to do what you got to do to make it happen.
We
Even though
did.
it's the middle of the night, we can't leave these under six kids
Oh,
alone.
so yeah, my husband and I, we worked opposite shifts, and I would drive the kids to work with me in the morning, and we would swap them we didn't even swap them. We would jump in the car and drive the same car back and leave the
Yeah, yeah. I have vague recollections of being in that backseat sleeping. Sean just said
and
she
I
was
remember
8 when Dallas started.
when I remember one morning I got pulled over, and I got pulled over, and he said, speeding,
Excuse me.
you're speeding. He says, you're speeding, you're weaving a little bit, you're speeding, you're tailgating. Like, oh my gosh. And then he shined his light in the car. What are all these kids doing in here? I told him what I was doing.
Hmm.
This is what I do. This is what we're doing to take care of our family. And I was pregnant with your sister,
Yeah.
and he let me go.
So you find a
It's one of the
babysitter now.
few times I let go, because when it comes to police officers, I always have a smart mouth and they give me a ticket every
And
time.
this time, no. This time you were weaving and speeding with 2 kids in the car, pregnant, trying to have an accident. And he's like, "Now get out of here."
You feel sorry for me.
Oh, yeah, I guess. I mean, that was a struggle bus time, but we made it. We made
Sure
it.
did.
Chandra says that she was 8 when Dallas started, so there's that. Anyway, Gabriella, I actually found to be the funny one. I was so she made me laugh with just her pretentiousness, with
Gabby?
with her pretentiousness, with her brattiness,
Mm-hmm.
with her divaness, with her expectations, and then really when it comes down to it, the 5-year jump did so much more for Gabby than any of the other housewives on the
Oh,
show
big time.
because there was such a stark change in her life
Yeah.
compared to the other characters on
She
the show.
it was incredible to see Gabby with a 5-year jump, because suddenly she has these two little kids.
She has the 2 little kids. One of them's the most 10-year-old 5-year-old of all time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but she's got these 2
Juanita.
kids. Yes.
Juanita's a pill.
Yes. Carlos is blind and has been for a long time. And during like the 5 years of his blindness, like has had a huge like personality shift because he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't be that big time businessman, mover and shaker person anymore. And so he really connected to like his soul. They
Mm-hmm.
had to sell all their cool stuff. They stayed in the house
Yep.
because it's the TV show. They have to live there. But they stayed in the house. But they had to
He looked
sell everything.
frumpy.
She was
He looked
frumpy. She didn't have
frumpy.
the same makeup. She was wearing sweaters.
Yep, and sweatpants.
Yeah, yeah. For me, Gabrielle is close to the top. Gabrielle is my number 2. And then when it comes down to it, she is able
He's my number
to.
3.
For you,
Gabrielle's my number.
okay. Well, we can settle for number number 2 then, because I feel like maybe our number ones are going to be the same.
Maybe.
And I mean, unless you're going to surprise me and it's Mrs. McClusky, I think our number 1 is the same. So anyway, but she was able to bring the comedy, she was able to bring that pretentiousness, and she was also able to bring the drama as well. Early on in
Mhm,
the show, I have this strong memory of her and Carlos were going to adopt a kid, and ultimately it didn't work out. The original parents
mhm.
wanted her back or something, or there was another family that ultimately was supposed to. I don't remember exactly what the
Uh-huh.
conflict was. but they come and they take the baby away from her. And in that time, in just like the 3 days or whatever the kid was there, Gabrielle had like went from diva to mom, and
Hmm.
they took the kid away. And I just have this, she's in this scene and she's like, no, don't take her away from me, I've already fallen in love with her. And just, she nailed
Hmm.
it. She
Yeah.
just nailed it. What's her name? Ava Longoria?
Yeah, and I remember her. I remember Eva Longoria from Young and the Restless.
Oh, she was on Young and the
She was on
Restless.
Young and the Restless before Desperate
I
Housewives.
didn't
It was
know
her
that.
first big acting gig.
Wow. Well, that's why Chandra
She
would
was
be the
on Young
most
and the
familiar
Restless,
with her then.
and she was with Paul
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah,
on
I don't
Young
know.
and
I
the
didn't.
Restless.
I've never been much of a Y&R guy. So that's cool. That's cool. Look at that
And
connection.
I don't remember that much. I was watching Y&R when she was on it. I don't remember that much about her storyline, but I think she and Paul wound up having a kid. But what I remember about her, seeing her, and she was super young then. I just remember just thinking she was so stunningly pretty,
Yeah,
just over the top pretty,
just too pretty, really.
so pretty.
The prettiest. All right, we'll place her. We'll
She was
place
married
her.
to Paul Williams on Young and the
Ooh,
Restless.
okay.
And I believe they had a child named Ricky. I think so.
Hmm.
But she wasn't on Young and the Restless all that long, a couple of years.
Right, but long enough to be remembered for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll place her at 2. We'll put Susan at 3. We'll put Gabby at 2. We already talked about Bree. Bree's low on both of our lists.
Yeah.
So
Bree's
Bree,
dead last for me.
Bree might be
Because she was
last.
just so awful.
Bree's just last. I'm gonna place her last now. I'm just doing it. I'm moving her picture over to the light green. She is our favorite. She is our favorite housewife, but not our most favorite.
Not our most favorite.
Okay. All right. Well, then that leaves the last of the big 4, which would be Ms. Lynette Scavo.
Lynette.
Ms. Lynette Scavo.
Lynette.
Lynette, the one that had all of the kids.
He was the one that had those rotten little twins.
Those rotten little redheaded twins. All of the kids actually were redheaded. Preston, Porter, Parker, Penny.
Uh-huh.
There was
Penny,
probably a 5th P that I can't recall.
didn't she? She had a baby during the show.
She was going to have twins, and then one of the twins survived, and the other twin didn't,
I
and
didn't
wound up
remember.
having one baby. Yeah, and it was a big deal to her because she had an issue connecting to this pregnancy because she was
Yeah.
so done with children at this point, with having more kids, that she finds that she's pregnant and with twins again. She went to therapy and was like, I don't love these kids.
Mm-hmm.
She went through so much. She went through, I think, the most on the show.
Yeah, and Lynette went through cancer on the show too.
Yeah, she had cancer. She was the one that got Mary Alice's letter. I feel like she pushed a lot of the story forward, just when it comes to like the power of her personality, the power of her desire to do right. And I don't even want to say that she was like a righteous character. You know, she wasn't somebody that was always like preachy or anything like that. But when it came down to it, Lynette always wanted to do the right thing by her family, by her friends.
She was the most real too.
She was absolutely the most real. What's her
Yes.
actor? Oh no, I really should have done some research. I looked forward to Lynette every single week. I look forward to her and Doug Savant, who played her
Yes.
husband. I look
Yes.
forward to them. I thought that they were brilliant together.
I
I
thought
thought
they
that
were too.
I thought their relationship was something to aspire to. I was mad when they had their issues and were going to have a divorce and did he cheat? Maybe question mark. And I'm like, what are they doing to the Scavos?
Remember they had their pizza place for a while?
They had the pizza place. Like I really enjoyed Felicity Huffman. Thank you very much, Chandra. I really
Felicity
enjoyed.
got in trouble in that whole, college scandal thing. Her and her
Yes,
husband,
she
Bill
did.
Macy.
Yeah, less trouble than Lori Laughlin because she went, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I
because she
did
didn't
that.
lie
Oops.
about it so
Yeah,
long.
she went, oops, my bad. All right,
Yeah,
I'll
she
do my
did
15
too
days.
much. Yeah. I am Becky. Should have learned something from her.
Well, there we go. Chandra says Major Nelson of I Dream of Jeannie. And that's what we knew him before. We're talking about Larry Hagman now. That's where we
Yeah.
knew him before Dallas. We were a Dallas, CBS, and a Dynasty ABC household. There you go.
Yep.
There you go. You were just a Channel 7 girl. Anyway, so back to it. Lynette, number one for me, hands down, easiest thing in the world. Like I said, I was the most invested in her story. I was looking forward to her participation the most. When the plane crashed and her house was hit and
Mm-hmm.
destroyed, I could just list random things that happened throughout the show with absolutely no context for an hour. Because I remember it. So at the supermarket,
Mm-hmm.
oh my goodness, the supermarket. If you don't watch anything else from Desperate Housewives, watch the supermarket episodes with Lori Metcalf, where she is this crazed wife of the supermarket manager who has been
Mm-hmm.
cheated on and lied to and has just had her last straw with it and holds the place up. Watch it. It's good stuff. It is good stuff. And speaking of Lori Metcalf, here's the thing. Here's the thing about this show. They love to cast people that you're like, oh, it's the.
They sure did.
They did that with almost every role, even the
They
main
did.
cast here. I didn't know. I thought that Ava Longoria was like the newcomer who hadn't done anything. But I didn't realize that she was the soap star that they picked to be on Desperate Housewives.
Mm-hmm.
Because you knew Felicity Huffman from other projects. You knew all of the other
Mm-hmm.
main four from other
Mm-hmm.
projects. I just didn't know from Young and the Restless. So then that answers that. That's what her connection of that's she
Yeah.
was on that other show. They did that with all of the guest stars.
Yeah. They did that a lot.
You know, they did that a lot, a lot,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. They even had I could go over the list. I could pull up a list, but it's going to be easier for you to do it. But if uh, but that was also something that was fun. Is a new character will pop up, and then you can have that conversation of, oh, that's from such and such. I mean, we've
Yes.
mentioned Scott Bakula, we've mentioned Lori Metcalf,
Mm-hmm.
just briefly as to you know
Mm-hmm.
the people that are on there. So that's easy. We're just gonna go ahead and slide Lynette right there,
Well, that's my number one.
and she's mine. So there you go. So as it stands right now, we've got Lynette as our most favorite, followed by Gabrielle,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a joint list, followed by Susan. But that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a swap between the two for you.
Yep.
And I don't have Susan near as low as I want her. So, um, Lynette, Gabrielle, Susan, blank blank, Bree. I know Ava Longoria because she was married to Tyler Christopher.
She was. Yes, she was married to Tyler
That's what Chandra
Christopher.
says.
She was, and they weren't married that long, but they were married like when he was really popular in General Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're married. Yes, and I understand they always stayed in contact as well.
That's
They,
awesome.
they had to, and I can only guess they probably split up over um his problems.
I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you one of the characters that didn't last to the end, and that's Edie Britt.
No, no, she died.
No, so yeah, they killed her off famously because Nicolette Sheridan had a big problem with Mark Cherry, who was the showrunner and executive producer of Desperate Housewives.
She
Big
had a
falling out.
what?
Big falling out.
Oh, big falling
She
out. Okay,
sued them for disparagement and
I do
underpayment and
remember.
all kinds of stuff. It
I
was
do
actually
remember her suing them. Yes,
so she was killed off. I don't remember how many seasons the show was in total, so I can't say. It was past the midpoint.
8, I think.
It was
It
past
was
the
on to
midpoint for
8.
sure. Because Renee was only on for 2 or 3 seasons. I want to say 2, but she wasn't on near as long as 80 was.
The last 2, huh?
Yeah. And she wound up getting electrocuted and dying. And actually, that last arc that led up to her death was actually a really good story too. Uh, it had See, I didn't look anything up. I didn't look anything up. But it has that one actor, Neil McDonough. That's his name, Neil McDonough. Who's that bleach blonde guy with the really blue, icy eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Who again is one of those like,
He's
oh,
a
I know
bad
him
guy.
from so and so. He always
Mm-hmm.
plays the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so he was the romantic interest of Edie in her final season because she was the
Mm-hmm.
single one. She was kind of the
She was a
single.
single one.
She was the
She was always
sultry
enticing everybody.
single
Big old hoe
realtor.
bag.
Yes. Just done up at all times and just
Yep.
having stuff hang out and just
She'd go wash her car in shorty shorts and like squirt the hose on herself and stuff.
right. It's
Right?
like doing the poison dance car dance, right? Pour some
Yep.
sugar on me.
Yes.
Wasn't she with Michael Bolton at the time? I don't know. Was Eva Longoria with Michael Bolton?
Sure.
Oh, Nicolette Jordan. Oh, I don't know. I don't know who her boyfriend was at the time. But she had a big falling out on that. And wound up suing the show in like public fashion during the final season. That's when
Mm.
they went to trial and all that, and then the testify. And then one of the actors, the actor who played Mike Delfino, he had to testify on the show because they had killed off his character before the end of the series. And he was testifying on behalf of the show that he was treated fairly and they didn't kill me off because they were being mean to me.
Oh.
And people were like, what a spoiler. Oh my God. The courts have spoiled the end of Desperate Housewives. Yeah, Nicolette Sheridan. Yeah, confirmed. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know anything about her and Michael Bolton.
Either.
So I thought Edie was a great part of the show. When it comes down to it, though, in the end, I preferred Renee.
I did too.
So
I didn't even rank Edie.
yeah, didn't even really consider her a housewife.
No, I didn't rank her.
Hmm. Well, we're gonna put her second to last then.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with entertainment value or anything about her as a person or what she did with the show or anything. Just when it came down to it, Edie was very one-dimensional until that last season. That last season brought
Was.
way more depth to her because she had this whole romance and then finding out the truth because Orson had ran over Neil McDonough's children or wife and kid. I think is what
Mm-hmm.
that big secret was that ultimately split him and Bree up. And so his whole
Mm-hmm.
thing was to get in on the road by seducing one of the housewives and marrying them so he could get to Bree and Orson. And so she has this whole conflict of like falling for him, having this romance, learning what his plan is, and then trying to stop it
Mm-hmm.
before she dies in an accident. Oh boy.
Yes. I was watching a clip today. I actually saw Edie die.
Well, there you go. Yeah, she got electrocuted with the light pole after getting in that little car accident while trying to rush to tell somebody about what Neil McDonough's character was up to.
Mm-hmm.
They had a big fight and falling out, and you can't, and I will. She ran out, emotional, crying, hit ice or oil or something.
Mm-hmm.
Smash. Character done. And they had a full, like, and they treated it well, too. They had a whole funeral episode. They scattered her ashes. They had memories. They're like, what do we do with her kid, Travers? And I said, how do you name your kid, Travers? Chandra wants to know how long Vanessa Williams was on the show, who played Renee. And I think it was about 2 or 3 seasons in the end.
I think so too.
And that's who we can talk about next because she's the character that they brought in to replace Edie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She wasn't the same level of like sultry vixen.
Vanessa Williams, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't the same level of sultry vixen as Edie was. She was a different kind, but she was still the single one on the block.
Mm-hmm.
She was the new single character that came in. She's the one that had the revolving door of different potential romances, the short-term boyfriends rather than the season-long love arcs. Of course, until that final season where everybody gets their time and everybody gets their due and everybody gets their ending. But actually, her character was wrapped up in Susan's whole thing. It was her boyfriend's troubles that got Mike Delfino shot at the end of the series. But Vanessa Williams was a great addition to the show. She carried the
I
right
thought so too.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
She carried the right attitude.
Mm-hmm.
They had her singing Christmas carols.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really did well with having Vanessa Williams on the show,
I
and
thought that was a perfect pick.
she slid right in, complete
Mm-hmm.
immediate acceptance of this character on the canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's unfortunate that eventually all that stuff about Edie and troubles with the show came out, but you weren't thinking about it at the time, mostly because the information wasn't there. But you weren't thinking about it at the time. It was just how the plot had
Mm-hmm.
progressed, you know. So yeah, here's the thing:
I liked her.
I liked her. I can't put her above Mrs. McClusky.
I can't either. I have her at five. I had six people written down.
Yeah.
Lynette, Bree, Susan, Gabby, Renee, and Mrs. M. And I had Renee at five.
Yeah. Well, she's going to wind up being in the fifth position after all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, there's not a whole lot more that we can say about the Renee character. Because I mean, she was there definitely as supporting big time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to support the other members of the cast, the other characters and their stories, to add her opinion, her flair, her whatever it is that they needed her for. Um, so fifth position it is. That's not last though. That's great. That's not even second to last.
No.
Because right now we got Lynette, Gabrielle, Susan,
Mm-hmm.
blank, Renee, Edie, and Bree.
Mm-hmm.
Which leaves only one remaining housewife to talk about, and that's Mrs. McClusky, who,
I
unless we're
loved
going to
Mrs.
push her
McClusky.
way up top, I'm not. I think that she's perfect where she is.
And didn't we lose that actress before the show was over?
Just after the show was over.
Mm.
Just after. So,
Remember something about that.
Catherine Jewston, I think her name was.
Yeah.
And
Karen McClusky. She was
Karen
great.
McClusky. She was great. She was on every single season. She was the crotchety, cranky old neighbor. I think we were introduced first when Lynette's boys broke into her house and stole ice cream, or she gave them ice cream, or having some sort of issue or something. And the
And she was
resolution.
worried about the freezer, right? I think her husband was in
Yeah,
there.
so they wanted the ice cream. They were going to go into the freezer, and she freaked
Uh-huh.
out. And so there was a whole thing. And then Lynette's like, "Okay, well, we're going to help you out with this." And then she would send the kids over to go like help her with chores or something like that. Eventually, they
Mm-hmm.
find out that she has her husband's body in the freezer because she hasn't reported that he's dead because she's still getting his social security checks. And eventually she has to find out, blah, 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 blah. The thing is, what I find interesting is Catherine Jewston, who, after establishing time on the show and making friends and all that, like, worked out with the producer, Mark Cherry, that they wouldn't kill her character off. Because she's like, I'm an old lady. Every job that I have is about how my character is dying, and I would love to not have to do that again. And so they didn't until she came down with another bout of lung cancer in real life. And I don't know this for certain because I haven't read it in an interview and I don't know her personally, but it really seemed like she figured this was probably going to be it. And so
Mm-hmm.
kind of worked that journey into the end of the show for her character as well.
Yeah, it was. I remember it being so touching. I
It was
do.
super, super touching.
It was super touching. What I loved about Mrs. McCluskey was she was an old biddy and had her nose in people's business, but she could take those Stavo kids didn't have no.
Oh
She
no.
made them toe the line.
Gosh, she was as granny as we can get, really. And that I think that's
Even those
probably
twins.
yeah. She was able to put people in her place. She even got married to that old codger and was able to run circles around him as well.
Yep.
Um, so like Mrs. McCluskey was an absolute joy in the show. When she was never a main cast member, never main credited.
Mhm.
Only did a handful of episodes really per season, but every time she was on, her impact was lasting, and you
Mhm.
really cared about her as a person. Ultimately,
Mhm.
you wanted her to be happy. You wanted her to be well.
Mhm.
When the disasters hit the road, like the tornado hit, I think there was one, or the plane crash, or all that kind of stuff. They even used like, is McCluskey survived or not, as like a tension filled crux for plot and for episode and for drama and for conflict. So
Here
she
she
was
come with her Tupperware container, fine as can be.
exactly, just I think also there was, I think with the plane crash, because Lynette's house was leveled and her whole
Mhm.
family was in there, she thought, and she falls to her knees screaming, no, right? And then we have like the mid-season or season finale, and we're like, oh, God, what's going to happen? You have to wait several weeks or months before it comes back. And it does. And I think what had happened was they rushed over to McClusky's house because she was the neighbor. She puts them in the closet, but
Mhm.
ultimately McClusky's sister doesn't survive
Mhm.
because of all of this stuff. But it was like, I think they didn't show it, or they might have shown a flashback. But I remember her telling the story about like her sister like staying on the outside and holding the door closed and to save
Mhm.
everybody. And I'm like, "Ugh." Now don't quote me on that. I could be way wrong about the details of that particular plot line. But the emotionality is what
Mhm.
matters, and it was there. And she brought it, and I loved it. And of course, Mrs. McClusky, the big part of the final storyline, she takes the rap for it. So Gabrielle knocks the hell out of her pedophile stepfather and kills him. Or was it Carlos who did it?
Remember.
Was it Carlos or Gabby? It's Carlos who did it. So Carlos does this.
Remember.
And so they're trying to hide it, and that's the whole season story arc, is trying to hide that. And he's got connections to the mafia, which turns into Renee's
Mhm.
story and leads to the death of Michael. Like, it's all connected.
Mhm.
And ultimately, ultimately, frail old Mrs. McClusky takes the witness stand and confesses.
Mhm.
I broke in and I did it. And the lawyers are like, how could you possibly do it? And she's like, you don't know what a person can do when they're properly motivated. And there's like this understanding of like everybody in town who's like, of course everybody in town comes to watch this trial because it's the four leads who are on trial.
Mhm.
So the gallery is full. And I just remember looking at the faces of all these people and going, not a single one of these people believe her.
Mhm.
But the judge was ultimately like,
Okay.
what are we gonna do?
Mhm.
And so basically, instead of taking her to prison, they're like, what are we gonna do? Send this old cancer-filled person to go die in 3 weeks in jail? And they pretty much just let it all go.
Mhm.
Ah, what an ending. And then we do the ghost march at the very end. It carries no emotional impact if you haven't seen the show. So if you've never seen Desperate Housewives, I'm not going to go recommend going and watching the closing shots. But if you have watched Desperate Housewives, they've got Mary Alice's final voiceover and as many of the actors as they possibly could
Mhm.
that played characters that died on that show. They brought back to dress up in white and stand on the road as Susan was driving off as the last remaining housewife still on the block before moving on. And it
Mhm.
was it was a solid closeout
It
for the
was.
show. It really
It
was.
was.
So our final order, Mom, Lynette, number one, most favorite,
Yep.
followed by Gabrielle,
Mhm.
Susan,
Mhm.
Mrs. McClusky,
Mm.
Renee, Edie, and poor old Britt there at the end. Now, here's the thing. I think Britt at the end is just indicative of the style of podcast that we have, the style of entertainment that we enjoy, all that kind of stuff. Because I am sure there are millions of Desperate Housewife fans out there that are like, you put her in last past the recurring characters? What? She
Well,
wasn't that bad. Oh, Chandra, it was a really cool closing shot. If you have time in your life to pick up another show, if you just finished something else and you're like, what do I want to fill my time with? Desperate Housewives, it truly is worth it. It really is, and
it's really, really good.
I think every
And it's one of
season
the
is kind
shows
of
that
worth it too.
Matthew and I watched it together.
We watched it together. Not from the very beginning because I had some very in and out time when it comes to living at home. But
Remember, we had to we had to like a couple of seasons. We had to just catch up.
Yeah,
And
so we would watch live when I was, and then when I left Tracy, the city of Tracy, not the person. Uh, then yeah, you would DVR, and when I would come to visit, on Sundays, we would catch an episode or two
yep,
until we finished it off. Oh, good times and memories. So that was us ranking Desperate Housewives and just talking about life. That was it. That's
Desperate
it.
Housewives.
Excuse Excuse me again. Oh, I think an hour and a half is long enough talking about this stuff. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much. It was a good time. It was a good time. This went way later than I thought, but we chit chatted about nonsense way longer than I thought too.
We
So
did.
that's fine though.
We did.
Whatever. I ain't doing nothing else right now. I've got nothing to prepare for. Got nothing to plan for. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow too. So that's it. Desperate Housewives is super fun. Next week, Ma, we're going to talk about Lost.
We're going to talk about
We're gonna
Lost
talk
next
about
week.
Lost next week. We're going to answer all
Oh
those
my
questions, folks.
gosh.
Oh my gosh! If you didn't
I
watch
think
Lost,
that's Matt's. Is that not your favorite?
One of my favorite shows. It's really difficult because I'm you know me. I'm somebody that's like, when I'm into something, I'm really into it. So my favorite thing kind of shifts as time goes on. It's really never anything new, but like my passion for something will reignite and kind of edge out something else, and then my passion for the other thing will reignite again and edge this thing out. Anyway, whatever. I absolutely love the show. So next week we're going to talk about Lost. We're going to talk about our experience with Lost, and we'll talk about all of those unanswered questions because, folks, I've got all those answers. I've got all of them.
You probably have deep dove Lost a lot more than me.
Well, I mean, so the show's been off the air for almost 20 years.
It's been off the air almost 20 years. That's terrible, man. Where is time going? It is marching away from me.
I mean, almost as in like in 6 years it'll be 20 years. So it's like 14 years.
Okay.
But that's still a long time.
Yeah. Probably 20 years since it started.
Oh, definitely, because the show lasted 6 seasons or so.
Yeah.
And Cynthia Watchrose was on Lost. You're absolutely right, Chandra. She didn't watch Lost.
She was.
Well, you've got a week to binge 6
She
seasons.
was Libby.
Yeah, she played Libby on Lost. So I don't know what it'll do for production, but yes, we'll talk about Lost. It's just a fun action adventure mystery show that ended with a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but it ended with some questions unanswered and also mysteries that are just like, huh? Because they're so convoluted, but convoluted in a fun way. Like convoluted and like it's been really fun on this journey getting to this answer, but I don't really understand what it means. But I've got those explanations.
Probably watched the last 3 or 4 episodes of the whole thing. Like, the last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got all those answers. I've got those explanations. I can tell you. I can tell you,
Oh.
Chandra will be here to learn. Well, thank you very much, Chandra. I appreciate you giving us your time, even though we're talking about stuff that you have no idea about. That's not easy for people. I have friends and family who are like, I appreciate the fact that you have a podcast. I click on it every once in a while, but I really can't invest in listening to it because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And I always tell them the same thing. Start watching.
Start watching. Or just
Then
start watching our show every week. We talk about the same characters. Maybe you can follow along that way.
Or watch Days of Our Lives, and you can be
Days
get dummy with us.
Which is our next show. Days of Our Lives. Days for Dummies, 9 a.m. Sunday. Be here for that. And then 11 a.m. Sunday as well for 10th floor General Hospital, 10th floor GH. Big stuff to talk this week on both shows.
No.
Plus,
both shows.
We will also talk about them boys from Days of Our Lives going to be in Playgirl magazine.
What the heck?
You ready to see some rippling abs?
I guess, huh?
Are you ready to see the top of somebody's bum crack? Because that's all you're getting.
It's all good, but I don't really care about all that.
So I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit. And when the magazine drops on digital newsstands near you, we won't be able to show you the pictures because those are copywritten.
When does it come? When is it? When
It's
does
coming
it
in the
drop?
spring. I don't know exactly what
Oh, in the
month,
spring. Okay.
but yeah, it's a big spring issue, big special spring issue.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about
It's
that on
not.
Sunday.
It's not bunch of soap opera, different fellas from different
No,
shows.
it's
It's
just Days.
just days.
It's like six dudes from Days. One of them we don't know. It's like this dude who played a character named Paul.
Oh.
I don't know who that is. But other than
Well,
that,
my favorite fella on Days of Our Lives, as far as what they look like, is Mr. Brady, Eric.
well, I've
You know,
got good
Eric.
news for you.
He's probably one of the dudes.
Yeah, Eric Merstolf.
Brady, Eric, though.
Yeah,
That's his first
Eric
name, right?
Merstolf. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
Brady.
he's gonna be in it,
They
Ma.
look kind of hot.
He's gonna be in it. Alex is gonna be in it. Xander's gonna be in it. Brady's gonna be in it. Lucas is gonna be in it.
Hmm. Okay, Lucas.
This Paul person, but not Carson Boatman. He's a good Christian boy though, so that's probably why.
Maybe he decided he wanted to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I would imagine so. I don't know how you wouldn't invite him to do it.
Well, the young man that plays Alex, he's got one heck of a body. He does.
Maybe Brandon Barash was in it too. He probably had the goofy spread though. I can just imagine him being like that copper tone baby. Like that just seems to be his style for me. Anyway, we'll get into that on Sunday. Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, here live on YouTube with Days for Dummies, Matt, Cat, and Professor Angela, of course, along with the chat. It's going to be there as well. And then again, 11 a.m. for 10th floor General Hospital chit chat and talk. All kinds of stuff to talk about, like why the heck did Spinelli ignore Trina? We're going to get into the details there, tell you exactly why. All that and more on the 10th floor, everybody. But that's it for late night tonight. Thanks for joining us here live or on the replay. Leave a comment if you haven't. Just like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Leave us a tip, I guess. Buy us a coffee. Buyusacoffee.com. Buy some merch. Follow us on Twitter, 10th Floor GH. Send us an email, 10thfloorgh@gmail.com. Next week we'll talk about Lost. And that's it. I really don't know how late night shows ended because I never watched the end of them. Thank you very much to James Patrick Stewart. I'm sorry we had to bump you. We just didn't have time.
I love that.
I've been Matt.
I've been Cat.
And we'll catch you next time here on Late Night Tonight. Bye.